Okay guys, let's go ahead and get started now that some people are showing up. Hopefully you can hear me okay. YouTube's being a little wonky with the stream. It's giving me some interesting messages. But hopefully you guys can see everything okay. Is it all working alright for you guys? As long as it's working okay for you guys, we might as well go and keep going. And I do apologize because my air conditioner is on again. Oh gosh, give me one moment. The playback. I do apologize. It started playing back for me, and I could hear myself talking. That was odd. But anyway, hopefully you guys are all able to hear me all right. If not, let me know and I will do my best to fix it. So today what we're actually going to be working on is something that I'm pretty interested to show you guys. So you've seen a lot of me doing character design with the wolves in Raiden's Quest, and of course they are the main species that it focuses on, so it makes sense. But they're not the only species in the world of Raiden's Quest, and today we're going to be looking at some of the other species and figuring out how I'm going to end up drawing and animating them. So that's something I'm pretty excited to show you, and let's go ahead and we will jump right in. So the first species that we're actually going to take a look at today... hey guys! I see new people coming in. But the first species we're going to take a look at today is actually the pheasant. So this is what a pheasant looks like. This and this. They're a little bit funny looking. And then here's another variant. I believe that's a female variant. And so the species that are in this world are not exactly, they don't exactly correspond to real world species, but they are similar in many ways. So we'll be looking at these guys and potentially how we're going to be looking a lot at how they look in the real world and then basing our fictional species off of them. So I'm going to go ahead and make a new layer. And we're going to do what if you guys have seen my anatomy video, we're going to kind of work with it in a similar way. So we're going to kind of look at the proportions and see where the main body parts are and how they look and how they connect. So pheasants kind of have this, they've got kind of that's kind of the shape of their bodies like that. And they have this long tail thing that kind of comes off their, from there. So they kind of look like this. And then they have their legs coming down like this. And they've got small beaks. And the eyes are positioned right here. And so that's basically how a pheasant looks. And you can see the wing is right along here. And that is going to be important if we ever draw them flying. I don't have any of them with their wings spread right now, but we may look for more references in the future here. So let's continue and go ahead and sketch these guys as well in the similar style. Make a new layer, and we'll just go ahead and sketch over them again, mark the key positions. So they have kind of this oblong body, and then it kind of goes into a triangular shape at the base of the tail. And they have their wing right there, and then the neck just connects like this. And yeah, they kind of do. They kind of do look a little bit like prairie chickens. And let's make sure we sketch that. And these guys have a little bit of a thing on the back of their heads there. I don't know if we'll include that for our species or not. We'll also be looking at coloration, because somehow we're going to have to simplify this design down into something that my colorist won't kill me if I tell them that you need to draw this. So they also have toes, which is going to be fun. Feet are not my strong suit. They're not my strong suit. I will definitely say that. And here we go. We'll sketch in the legs again. You can see. So if we want to look at these guys simplified, it's basically like this. Have I seen the new video from the Wolf Quest? I've been keeping up to date with the videos on Wolf Quest, and the new version is looking pretty stinking cool, I must say. And I did not know that pheasants live in grasslands, wetlands, and wooded areas, and that they prefer to live in areas at least 40 acres in size. It's interesting. I knew they lived in the woods. I don't know a huge amount about the species, but They are a prey species in Raiden's quest. The wolves will attack these guys and eat them if they can. They would make a nice meal for a lone wolf. And let's take a look at this pheasant here. I believe this one is female. Let's kind of outline the head again. And we have the beak, we have the eyes. And then again, you can see the body is kind of oblong. This time the neck is kind of coiled down a little bit. And here we go. The wings are here. And again, the tail comes out like that. And let's see. There we go. Sketch that in. Can't see the feet here. So yet again, this is fairly similar in design. So if we look at these guys, we'll take a look at our simplified designs here. And then we'll go over to our blank canvas and start kind of blocking some of them out so that you generally have, let's not draw in the background. Yeah, the males are the colorful ones in the pheasant species. So we will go ahead, I'm going to make my brush size a little bit bigger so that it's a little easier to work with. And they have sort of this oblong and then triangular body. They've got a longer tail. And they're going to kind of come like that. They have a small beak, and then they've got their eye right there. And then they've got their wing. And then their feet come down like this. Probably needs to be a little bit longer. So we'll come in and erase this. Because I drew the legs a little too short. And kind of look at them like that. So then we're going to come over here. Hey Bella! Let's see. Let's check on that. So, yes, yeah, wolves probably don't go after pheasants that much, but when we look at the perspective of things, when we look at, if you have a pack of wolves, they're going to be more likely to target larger prey, but if you have a lone wolf, they're going to probably go after something smaller, so it'd be pheasants, and it would probably be hares would be another main prey, like in Wolf Quest. But because they are in the woods, they do have pheasants, and the wolves will take what they can catch. So if they can catch a pheasant, they're going to eat the pheasant. So we'll draw in, I'm not going to do the eye like that. Keep in mind this does not necessarily reflect reality in all ways, but we do try to keep it at least somewhat realistic. But yeah, let's see. Here we go. Let's make sure we get the eye in. So pheasants, I think, usually have, if we look here, they usually have golden eyes. So we're going to try to reflect that with this so their eyes are not purely black. So we're going to draw in the pupil there. And then if we look at this guy, they have this red blotchy thing around their face that's going to show up. That's, I believe... Is it called a wattle? I know the comb and wattle are in roosters, but I'm not sure if it's the same thing for pheasants. Wait. There we go. Oh, no. And we're going to kind of come in like that, because you can see that's where it goes in, and then the beak is there, and then it kind of flops down like this. And let's see. Yeah, there's another species that I would imagine probably could prey on pheasants, but probably doesn't do it all that often, is cougars. They are a little bit larger, and so they might be more inclined to hunt larger prey. But again, they're going to take what they can get. So if they can catch a pheasant, they will catch a pheasant, I would imagine. But they might not go out of their way if there's other options available. But yeah, cougars are another species we'll probably work with at some point for the series, because they do live in the world of Raiden's Quest, and there is a chance we will see them in the series. So we may work with drawing cougars at some point as well. So we're probably going to sketch up to this, like here, kind of get the shape of the head. And let's see. So on here, this red area does not go all the way up. But for these guys, I think we're going to make it a little bit bigger and have it come perhaps a little further for a little bit of exaggeration. We have to kind of put some characterization into it to make it fit the style. So we'll be doing some stylistic modifications here. Will these guys be prey? Yes, they will be prey. Oops, that was not what I meant to do. They will indeed be prey. Don't do that. They are prey animals, and they will be something that the wolves will probably eat, and some of the other characters. So the way the world of Raiden's Quest works is that most of the animals are still on the level of animals here, but the wolves have a basically human level of intelligence. They are basically the equivalent of humans in their world. So most of the other species are either prey or predators. The only exception I might say would be other canine species are probably intelligent as well, but whether or not they will play a role in the story remains to be seen. So there is a little patch back here that some of you guys are mentioning. That will probably sketch in because this is a larger picture. There's a little darker patch back here. But that might, again, keep in mind that all this has to be animated, and so for the sake of animation, sometimes little details like that might get cut out. So, let's see. How is it coming with starting Season 4 of Wolf Quest? You guys will see shortly. So, let's see. Let's look at the wings here. So, the wings are kind of hard to differentiate. Let me look up and see if I can find another picture, if it will let me do that. So give me one moment. If I can find that. Here we go. I will try and get another picture. Whenever I show pictures on a video, I have to make sure they are licensed properly. So I can't just grab any old picture. Usually Wikipedia is pretty good, though. Usually. So I would say this is probably a pretty good picture. Let's go ahead and, oop, that was not what I meant. No, don't do that. Hang on. There we go. That's another prey animal that we're going to be lurking with today. Hopefully, if we get that far. Here we go. No, don't do that. Photoshop, why do you hate me today? So let me get my windows back in order again. There we go. And there we go. What brush size am I using for this currently? Right now I'm on 15, but usually for the actual animation I use 5. Yes, the wings are the yellow part. And then over here. So if we look at this guy, feathers are a hard thing to draw. Let's come back over here. So we're going to look at kind of the shape of the wing. And it basically is fairly straightforward. So you kind of have the feathers coming out like this, and then they come in like that. So the way we're probably going to echo that over here is, well, with this maybe you won't see it as much because it's folded up, but it'll probably be something like this. And then you'll see the wing there, and then it'll come up to the shoulder. And these are going to be a little bit messier sketches because we're just trying to get a feel for what we're doing. So here we go. We'll sketch the wing in. And then the chest. And here we go. There, we'll kind of make the back look proper. The canvas is, whatever the default size canvas we use is. It's 2 times HD resolution, which is 1920 by 1080. So, yeah, wild boar can be huge. I have actually encountered them a little bit. One time when we went to Hawaii, there were wild boar running around there, and they actually scared my mom and me because they came charging up, and we thought the boar was coming at us for a second, but it was chasing another boar. But it was a little bit scary because it just kind of came running at us. And we couldn't even see it, it was just, we could hear it squealing and running through the undergrowth, so it was a little bit of an interesting situation. Here we go. But yeah, wild boar can be very dangerous. You gotta be really careful. Even feral pigs can be really dangerous as well, because they have big old tusks sometimes. So that's kind of how the feet are gonna look. And then we'll probably sketch in another foot here. Me freehanding things, that never goes well. So we'll see something like this. Probably ignore my inability to draw feet, I just need to get used to that a little bit. Let's see. Oh, thank you, Big Claws. Okay, it might be hard to catch the boar because they can turn and fight back. Exactly. Boars are a very dangerous prey for even for wolves. And so that's going to be one of the many... There are a lot of hazards in Raiden's quest, and hunting is definitely one of them. Let's make this a little shorter. So there we go. We'll come down here, and then we'll sketch the tail in like this. And like this. And then we have to figure out how to simplify the colors, because I can't ask somebody to draw this every single time. So oh no, I hadn't heard that story, Slinky. So as for the coloration, we're gonna take some of this golden yellow because that is a really nice looking color. And that is something we want to preserve, and we're probably going to just color the whole wing that color. And what we'll do is, I'm going to color this in like this. I'm not going to use my fill method because I was lazy and didn't make my lines connect all the way. So, I'm not going to use it like I normally do. And then we'll come over this. And then what'll probably happen is that any details that need to go in, like the feathering, any feathering like that will be done on the line art layer, so we're not going to see this really complicated, let me clean that up. We're not going to see this really complicated black tip like that. What we're probably going to see instead is on the line layer, we're going to see something like this probably. Maybe, if this is going to look good. We'll see if it'll even look good. We'll probably see something more like this. Potentially. It's going to be something simpler like that, and not as complicated, because otherwise my colorists will hate me forever. Yes, it's a boar. Oh, it's B-O-A-R. There's a different spellings of the term have different meanings. So the pig one is B-O-A-R. So let's see. Yeah, be careful around the boars. They're kind of dangerous creatures, honestly. They're not very nice. So I'm actually going to drag that all the way down here. And we're going to use this color for the red. Something like this. There we go. Maybe a little bit lighter. Just a little. There we go. And that will be the red. And thankfully these guys are not going to show up too often. So, we won't have to do too much animation with them, hopefully. But we do want them to look nice when they do appear. Let's come in like this, ba-ba-da. And we'll fill in that area. Fill in the top. And then this little area here is going to be this deep blue. So we're going to have the deep blue come about... How far does it come here? Well, the red area is much bigger on this guy than in the real pheasant, so I'm going to shrink down my brush size a bit so that I can actually see what I'm doing. And this whole area is going to be blue. And we'll color that in. Once we've done that, once we get this done, we'll work with the other area. We're going to be simplifying this design a lot, remember, so that it's not too difficult to work with for the coloring every time. But it's hard because you have to find a balance between making it easy to work with versus making it look nice. And for the eye, we're actually going to just take this same color that we have on the wings, because that's less colors that you have to remember. How do you color on the computer? You have to have a program to do it, so like I'm using Photoshop, but there are plenty of free alternatives as well, and then I use a tablet to help me with that. Basically what it is it simulates pen and paper, but on the computer, so it's a little bit easier than using a mouse, and so that's gonna be I can't think. That's gonna you don't need a tablet, but you need I'm gonna use this color, I think. But you do need a program to be able to color on the computer. Oops, that is on the line art layer. And how do you stay in the lines? Practice the same way you learn to color in the lines in real life. So I'm actually going to come up kind of close to this, but don't worry, we will go back over it. And then let's see. I don't know that the claws are called talons. I think it is birds of prey that have talons. Yeah, the legs and the feet are going to be a little bit... They are a little bit large here. That's just something we work with, and I'm not being super careful at the moment because it's basically it's concept art, and so the concept art is a little bit looser a lot of the time. It's mostly just meant to get the idea on paper. The proportions, though, will be a little bit shifted. They're not 100% accurate because there is some stylistic distortion, but it's probably not going to be that much. Also, drawing the feet big helps me get the proper detail I need to, at least to practice. Okay, so Jay, are you gonna add big prey animals like moose, elk, bison, and other pretty big animals? Yes, they will. Some of those will be in there. We'll mostly see, probably elk and other animals like that more than bison and moose. And in fact, you shall see. Hang tight for a bit. So the tail is fairly similar in coloration, but if we do that, I don't know, how is it going to look? It might look okay. We'll see. We'll probably add some lighter coloration on the bottom, though. Let's come down here. Fill all this in. And we'll make sure we get this colored in real nice. Again, this is going to be an animation reference too, so we're not going to do a lot of complicated shading and stuff. I tend to save that for promotional art and things where it doesn't have to be animated. But this is going to help us get the colors we need when we go to animate these guys. And let's see. Let's take a look there. We'll make sure we get the coloration on the wing fixed. And so for the tail, and then for this white area up here on the collar, we're going to come back to that. So I think I'm going to take this, I'm going to use this color here. Now, in this you can see it's really white. I always shy away from using extremely bright white, so most of my colors are not going to be pure white. In fact, though, I think I will shift this a little bit to the blue spectrum, because the blue generally tends to have a pure white, whereas if you have it in the yellow spectrum, it's going to start looking more cream. Now, the reason you can tell that this is so blue is that you can actually, because we have an actually white background. And it's very hard to find that pure white in nature. If we were to change the color of the background, say, it's going to look a lot more white. It's going to look almost pure white because the background is not solid white. So that's a trick that we use sometimes. It tends to look better if you don't use just straight up pure white. How do you use layers? That's going to depend on the program, but basically layers are meant so that you can keep your drawing straight so that I can edit the color here without changing the lines. So the beak is also white, it looks like, and then the legs are sort of grayish. But again, one of the things that we use in animation when we're working with designs, we might change this color blue, it's a little bit off perhaps. But one of the things we sometimes do in animation when we're working with designs is we kind of repeat things, and so instead of using just gray like this, we may actually come in and I might make the legs blue. I think I'm going to go ahead and make the legs blue. Now, that's not true to the species of pheasant, but like I said, these guys are modeled after real life, but they're not 100% accurate. There's going to be some stylism, and it's not meant to exactly be the same species. So while their look are going to be heavily based off the real-life species of pheasant we have here, they're not going to be identical. Now, I might change this color, but we'll see. I want to see how it looks with the blue, because one thing that I've found is that when it comes to design, it helps to have something repeat, and since we're simplifying the number of colors we need to use, we're gonna try and tone it down. So we might not use this blue, that's looking a little bit weird. We might use the lighter blue. And we might change the lighter blue. I think I don't necessarily like it being blue. I might go back to cream, even though I don't always like the look of the cream. We might bring it down to a slightly duller gray. I think we'll bring it down to this color and use that on the collar as well. And that'll kind of just create a little bit of kind of a matched. When you're gonna design something, when you're not going in all the details. So like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 colors on this guy. This guy has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, about 8 or 9 or more different colors. If you're depending on how much you simplify, he's probably got hundreds of colors if you're not simplifying. So when we're simplifying it down so much, we start reusing colors some places. And when you're going to do design work, you kind of have to look at that somewhat. So let's see. Let me see. I was Slinky. I witnessed that. Sometimes the videos that get suggested are very, very random. I will say that. So I'm going to come back and get our blue color here, and then we're going to do another view of the pheasant, and perhaps we'll draw a female pheasant this time. So what we're going to do this time is sketch in, oops, I'm on the wrong layer. What we'll do is sketch in the head again, and this time we're going to do a pheasant facing forward, and so the beak is going to kind of be like this, perhaps, maybe, hopefully looks better than that. And then the body is going to be here. I'm actually going to move this guy away. Oops. I'm going to move him, I'm going to move his sketch down here, and then we'll move these layers. Move him down here so that we have more room to work with our female, because I think we're going to actually maybe have her spread her wings a little bit. And we'll come in again, and then we're going to, for the neck, their pheasants are pretty plump. They're pretty plump looking. So the feet come down like this. And you're going to have the toes. There we go. And then for the actual wings, we have our flying reference here. We're probably going to end up doing something like... wings are very difficult, you guys. I will say that. Wings are very difficult. I'm gonna move her up and scoot her this way a little bit. We might only draw one wing in, possibly. Yeah, we're probably only going to draw one wing in, and then the other one is... In fact, we're going to actually, we'll draw the other wing, because that'll look better. We'll scoot her up to the side here. And then we will sketch in this wing. And I'm probably going to have it come out like this. It's going to be something like this. There we go. Can pheasants fly? It looks like it. Let's see. Do I take art classes or am I a natural born animal artist? Okay, that's a complicated question there. So, whether or not you have art classes, I believe you can learn to draw. The way that I learn to draw is by looking at a lot of pictures. You have to learn to be able to, first of all, to see what an animal looks like, or whatever you're trying to draw, you have to know what it looks like. And then from there you can design it more, and then you can start stylizing. So yes, I've had art classes, but one of the biggest things inside and out of art classes that has helped me learn to draw was to just sit and look at references and draw off these references. Now that can be a little bit boring sometimes, depending on what your preferences are. It can be hard, you can sometimes just want to jump in, but it's going to help you a lot. And see, even here, for the first time I'm drawing a pheasant, what am I doing? I'm looking at a reference. I have never drawn a pheasant before in my life, and it's already starting to look okay because I'm using references. I'm learning how they're shaped. I'm looking to see how they look, and then I'm working with that. So I've had quite a bit of practice. Mostly that's why I think I've become a good artist, or at least I hope I'm a good artist, is that I have practiced so much, and I've learned quite a bit from that practice. That's more what helped me. And yes, I did get some of that through art classes, but even if you don't have access to art classes, you can still practice. You can still learn. You can learn art. It can help to have a good teacher. Thankfully, I've been blessed with an absolutely amazing art teacher. She's really, really cool. But you can learn these principles if you need to without taking classes. So yeah, classes will help, especially for learning specific medium. Like if you're trying to learn pen and ink, I would never have learned pen and ink if I hadn't gone to a class. I would never have been able to do my pen and ink without that sort of instruction. But as for the actual principles, you can do a whole lot to learn those on your own. So let's see. How much progress have we made on the first episode? So progress is a difficult thing to gauge with this because sometimes you have a scene that takes like a couple hours to do, and then sometimes you have a scene that takes the better portion of a week to get done. So progress is a little bit hard to gauge, but we're working on it. I would say the pace is picking up. We're still hoping for a fall release. We'll have to see what happens, though. We will have to see. I'm hoping for a fall release. Will we get there or not? It's too early to say. Oh, no, I don't want to close it. Too early to say if we're going to have anything unexpected come up. The trouble with animation is, and especially with stuff like this, is that it tends to be plagued with unexpected things that come up. There's just so many variables, and sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to keep all of them in line. So I'm hoping we're not going to have anything too majorly catastrophic happen at the last second, but it is a possibility. If it does happen, we're going to roll with it, and we may have to reschedule, but we're still going to get this episode done, and we're still going to keep working on this project. So, still hoping for a fall release at this point, though. I'd say we're still on track for that. Alright. And then what we're going to do here to kind of simplify the wings, also because I can't draw feathers, I'm not very good at drawing feathers, is we're going to kind of cheese it a little bit and sketch in just very lightly like this, where the feathers are, kind of outline it. We'll probably do more detail for that if we end up drawing pheasant, if we have to draw them with their wings out in the show. But for now, we're going to kind of cheese it a little bit. And then the feet. Here go the feet. There we go. And we'll add a little bit of a claw back there. There we go. Come down here. Let's see. We'll make sure. There we go. Oh, kind of the feet are uneven, aren't they? Yep, we gotta make this claw a little bit longer. Still some kind of large feet, but a little bit better than the other one. So then the other wing is going to be implied to go off screen there. And then let's look at our female pheasant, who's going to be more in the brown spectrum of things. I'm still going to give her gold eyes, even though that pheasant has more of a much darker eyes, because that might be a slightly different species. Pheasants always get this sort of I don't know, their expressions, they always kind of have this permanently startled look. And so we're going to kind of capture that a little bit with her. And then we're not going to see all this black going on here. That's going to be way too much. What we'll probably see is, again, just a little bit of it. So we're going to see probably maybe a lot of this color going on. And to be perfectly honest, she may be almost entirely this color, because it's going to be less red, though. There's not a lot of variation on the females. But what we'll see then is probably some black on the line art, kind of adding some distinction to areas and such. I'm going to turn off this background layer. And what we will see is the same color on the legs, probably, as the male. Let's go this way. Yeah, the legs are still too large. It's just a matter of that's one of those things that's a matter of kind of just fudging with it until it looks right. And again, because we're just trying to get the basic idea and the concept down, we're not really messing with that in too much detail. When it comes to the actual animation, we spend a lot more time on that and on the details. If you guys saw the last stream, we actually did some animation there, and that's all about the detail work. But for stuff like this, that's not as it's just meant to get a concept across. It doesn't have to be as detailed, and a lot of the time and effort is better spent in the actual thing than fudging around with the original image, trying to get that to look right when the original's not even going to be really used anywhere except for reference. So with something like this helps me know, okay, how do I do the feathers? How have I been drawing the eyes? How have I been drawing the beak? It gives me an idea of what I'm doing so that I can do it again. The legs themselves, the dimensions and such can change. And will change most likely, depending on how much we see these guys. And another thing too is, if you look at a lot of these pheasants, they're so small that their feet hide in the grass. Not this one, but and these guys aren't in grass. But if they're in any sort of underbrush, again, her feet are in the grass. A lot of the time, the feet for pheasants aren't even seen. So it's one of those things where it's perfected over time. This is just meant to get the detail, or not, this is just meant to get the concept out, and the details will be worked on later. It's especially for coloring, too. Let's try to get that looking at least somewhat nice, though. Let's see. What's my favorite animal to draw? Good question. The one I'm probably most experienced drawing is wolves and other canines. They are very fun to draw, and I'm really pleased with my current style in drawing with them. But I also really have been enjoying drawing dragons some lately, and I'm trying to learn how to draw people. So it varies. It really varies. But I do draw a lot of canines, and I would say I'm probably most experienced with them, at least. There we go. And is my phone going off again? I can't even tell. My phone has just decided to go off constantly during recordings, so I get very paranoid now, because it likes to go off all the time, and I don't even know why. It never does it when I'm not recording. You know, we almost never get phone calls except when I'm recording, because that's just how this works. Oops. So, what's the hardest thing to draw on the Raiden's Quest animals? Well, this is a lot of the preliminary work for the other animals, so it's kind of early to say. I suspect these pheasants are going to be rather difficult to draw because they're feathered, and I'm notoriously bad at feathers, so these guys are probably going to be pretty difficult. The others are going to have their own unique challenges as well. It's kind of early to say. I will say bears have been pretty tough, though, too. Bears are something completely new to work with. So, but, you know, it's one of those things, you practice, you get better, and you learn how to do it. Oh my goodness. Let's see. We'll go ahead and fill this in. So I think it's pretty safe to say that once we get some of the feathering in on the line art, I think this will be pretty close to done. And yes, I did just cheat and use bucket fill. Bucket fill is really nice with this, especially when you're coloring. Bucket fill becomes your friend very quickly once you start coloring. And then we'll go ahead, we'll come back here, and if we look at, we'll go ahead and close that one. If we look at, where is she? There she is. She's got all this black markings and stuff. So what that's probably going to end up looking like is, potentially, maybe, probably something more like this. It's going to be something like that. We'll see it some on the wings too, probably, at some point. Let's get rid of that one. I'm going to close some of these down. And she's going to have some on her wings too. It's probably going to be a little bit bigger. But we'll probably also see on the wings some more feathering and stuff. Perhaps more like this. This is probably not how it's going to be done, because I'm not really pleased with how this is looking. But you'll see something similar to that, just to kind of give it some level of texture. So, for pheasants, this is going to serve as a basic guideline of how I'm going to do what I'm going to do with these guys. So we'll go ahead and save this as pheasant concept. And that'll just help me know what I'm doing when I go to draw these guys. So then we're going to go ahead, we'll do new picture. I'm going to bring this over here. No, don't do that. Photoshop Y. So we'll go ahead, we'll close out our pheasant image. We'll leave these guys for later on, and I'll probably continue to refine them and hopefully get those pesky feet working. Hey, Salty Nova. Believe it or not, I still haven't seen Brother Bear. It's one of those ones that I've been meaning to sit down and watch, because I've been going back and watching a lot of the animated classics as I've gotten into animation, but that one I never actually saw when I was a kid, and I still haven't gotten to see it yet, even as an adult now. But especially with the style of the animation, I want to watch it and see how they did some of it. So our next animal here is actually going to be, not you, we already drew you, it's actually going to be a mule deer. Now, if you guys have been keeping up with WolfQuest updates, they announced they're going to be adding these guys to the game as a new prey source. Well, these guys are a prey source in Raiden's Quest as well. And they're going to be kind of interesting. So, it's going to be interesting to draw because they have hooves. Yeah, I'm planning on watching it. I need to sit down and actually watch. I have a lot of things I actually need to watch. I spend so much of my time actually animating now that I don't have time to watch movies anymore. Yeah, the boar will be the last one we end up doing, probably. So we'll go ahead and look at oops, no, we don't want to zoom in. Don't need to see a deer butt. But we'll go ahead and look at this guy and kind of just look at his face. So he is he's a mammal, so it's going to be a little easier to draw him potentially. And mule deer are a little bit smaller, so they're a little bit you guys talked a lot about elk and moose and such. Those guys are legitimate prey animals, and for a pack, it would be very possible to bring them down. But these guys are something that's a lot more feasible for a small pack or a lone wolf. So we're going to make sure we get this guy kind of sketched in. I don't normally draw the neck before I draw the body. They also have these big old ears. I love the ears. The ears are amazing. So they've got these huge ears. And then they have these horns. The males do, at least. So the horns are a little bit interesting. And we're going to kind of draw it in like that. Here's this one. And here we go. So then for the body, we're going to sketch in, there's going to be a circle for the chest and a circle for the butt. And then they're fairly tube-shaped. There's not a lot of variance there. And I don't know where this shot was taken. I'm pretty sure this one came from Wikipedia, so it could be from Yellowstone, but I don't know. Let's see. I have seen Balto. Balto played a huge part in my getting into animation and in my love for wolves and dogs and such. It's not really historically accurate, the movie at least, but it's still, as a movie, as long as you're not taking into account the historical accuracy, the movie was really well done, and the animation is gorgeous. But yeah, Balto played a huge role in my getting into animation. So, I really liked how that one was done. White Fang, I know there's an animated White Fang. I think I saw a live-action White Fang. Or something. I don't remember. It was a while ago. Yeah, so the mule deer are going to be kind of interesting. They have very thin legs as well. So, let's take a look at these guys. We're gonna... So, we gotta sketch out basically the basic shapes. They have a very long portion on for the lower part of their back legs. This is really long. If we were drawing a wolf, we'd probably only see about that much leg. These guys have huge legs because they're made to run. And this guy actually has a cut on his leg. You can see right there, he's got a little cut down there. He probably whacked into something while he's running, maybe running from a wolf. That's interesting to see. So then for the actual hooves, it's something like this, where you can, basically the hoof is going to come down and there's going to be almost a claw shape like this. There we go, we have hooves here. I'm trying to sketch them in a little bit because it's kind of hard to see. Who is cooking mushrooms? Because holy cow, I want some. Oh man, I want mushrooms. And then we have the little tail back here. Oh, and we should sketch the nose. So if we look at our sketch, this is basically how it turned out. And, yeah, I wonder what happened to him. So here we have some more mule deer. These are actually females. They don't have the antlers. And this is nice because it gives us a nice profile view of the head. So they actually have almost triangular shaped heads. You could draw a triangle, almost like a beak, and then blunt it off, and that'll give you a pretty good idea of their head shapes. And again, these huge ears are coming into play, listening for predators. These guys have to be on constant alert because there are a lot of things that would like to make a snack out of them. And they gotta be very careful. Again, you can see these guys are fairly tube-shaped. There's not a lot of this going on. It's pretty flat. And then you can see there's their back area there. And like this. Again, very, very, very long legs. They're really tall. And I should actually look, one of the things I'll have to go, I may not do this now, is a look up, because I don't know if I can find a picture that would be suitable for showing you guys without copyright issues, but to look up a comparison of a wolf and a mule deer to see how they compare in size, because I believe a wolf probably comes, if we come up here, we go to orange, I believe a wolf would probably be about this big, maybe. And of course the head, the neck is not as long. So a wolf would probably be more like this. Something more like this. Drawing without a reference. These guys I'm pretty confident drawing, though. And even with the head. They might not be quite that big, either. They're probably a little smaller than this, even. So here's our wolf. He's probably even a little bit smaller than that. Maybe maybe more like this big. So big enough to take him down, but not here. I'll try to make that a little bit more visible, but not so big enough, and not so big as to be totally compared to there. We'll turn the saturation up. But yeah, so that's probably about how the wolves compare. I'll have to look for more detailed ones, but I'm pretty sure the deer are larger compared to the wolves. So I'm not gonna draw in all of these deer. We'll mostly just stick with this one because the others are partially hidden anyway. But again, that's kind of what we're looking at with the deer. So, and then the feet. The feet are like this, basically. Maybe not extending out so far. So we have these guys, and then we have one last picture, which is another doe. So they have these weird, long, stringy tails. Well, and the funny thing is, too, my dog... Actually, this may be a buck. This might actually be a buck, because it's winter, and you look at this. This looks like antlers to me. So that might actually be a buck that's lost its antlers. I don't know if and when these guys shed antlers, but I know a lot of these guys will shed their antlers at one point in the season. Even in Wolf Quest, the elk will shed their antlers. But yeah, it's kind of interesting because people like to joke around about my dog looking like a deer because my dog has this very light colored butt, and so she goes running off up the hill and she looks like a deer. You can basically you just see that bounding off into the darkness. Oops, put the timeline back. And so we've had people jokingly tell me that my dog looks like a deer because she just goes bounding off and all you can see is this white butt disappearing into the darkness. So that's whenever I see deer in those bright white butts, I always think of that. But no pun intended. There's actually purpose to that, and to their tails being so light in color. Their tails are light in color because when they run away, they can put their tail up, and that is a very clear signal to any other prey animals that there's danger, I'm running, you better move it too. So basically, when they go bounding off, they'll stick their tail in the air, and it's like a flag. It's like a warning to the other deer that something's wrong, that you better run. And let's go ahead, we'll draw on the neck. They have very skinny necks as well. They're kind of long and skinny. So, yeah, we don't live in an area where there's hunting, so I'm not worried about my dog. We're very urban. Well, suburban. I'm not in a city, but I'm in a town. So there shouldn't be hunting out here. I'd be more worried if we were closer to the desert. Plus, my dog doesn't even really want to be an outdoor dog. She's gotten so lazy as of late. She won't even go outside because it's so hot. I'm just like, no, you can't stay inside. You at least have to go out to use the bathroom, and she still doesn't want to go. So she's not in much danger, I don't think. But let's make sure that we get the hoof sketched in again. And, there we go. Yeah, I grew up with cats, too, because my dad is not a dog person. So I grew up with cats, but I finally convinced my parents to let me get a dog. Sierra is a German Shepherd and possibly Belgian Malinois mix, so we don't know entirely what. I'm pretty sure she may have a purebred Shepherd as one of her parents because she's had some notable shepherd traits and health concerns that are usually associated with purebreds. But so I'm pretty sure she may be pretty close to a purebred, but she definitely is not pure shepherd. She has at least one ancestor that was something else. All right, catch you later. So now that we've kind of sketched out how these deer look, we're gonna go ahead and try and draw them freehand like we did with the pheasant. and see how these guys turn out. Hopefully it'll be alright. And let's try and mark in. So they have smaller heads. Like, they have a little bit smaller heads. Their chest is probably, if I had to say, 2 times the size of their head. So we're going to draw in a bigger chest. They've got very thin necks. So something more like this. Maybe not quite. There's too much gap there. I'm going to scoot this up a little bit. They've got long necks, but not that long. More like this, perhaps. And then I'm kind of drawing him at a weird 3/4 angle. And then they have their legs, which are really long and thin. Do I like Pokemon? I don't actually know much about Pokemon. I never had the systems to get into the games. I had a DS Lite at one point, but that's the only portable system I've ever had. Most of my gaming has been PC games. So, from what I know of it, the battle system seems cool. I really appreciate the designs, and especially the pixel art of the older Pokemon. But, I don't know a huge amount about Pokemon, I'm afraid. So I believe they have 2 hooves. I believe. If not, we'll correct that later. And then they are very tube-shaped. So something like this, and then they had the tail. And then, let's see. We'll put in those big ol' ears. And then the nose. Nose is going to go right here. And the eyes are off to the side of the head for a deer. Now, the purpose this serves is it helps them see around them when they have their head down, they're eating. They're not just looking straight ahead. They are looking out to either side at the same time. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. And they can see... No, don't do that. They can see predators approaching more easily. So here we go. We're going to kind of curve this out. I'm going to draw the antlers because those are good to practice. And potentially... Yeah, I'm probably going to need to practice the antlers a little bit more. Here we go. That's a little bit better. And I'm going to turn down this because otherwise it's going to be too hard to see the black lines on top of it. You would not think it's difficult to see black, but it is. It very well can be. Let's go ahead and we will work on the nose. So if we look at the nose on this guy too, I'm going to turn this on. It's doesn't actually take up the whole of the muzzle. And so what we're going to do is something more like this. This is about how much of the... Oops, what was that? Okay, I think I just moved it a little bit. This is about how big the nose is comparatively. And then they actually do have a fairly thin muzzle. That starts to look weird. It's more like this. There we go. And they have a pretty thin chin. There we go. Let's see. We'll look at this guy too. So the eyes are fairly dark. They're probably going to end up being like a dark brownish color or when we're done with them. But yeah, the eyes being on the side is important because it helps them spot predators more easily because they are a prey species. Whereas hunters, hunting animals like you look at wolves or lions, they're going to have eyes in the front of their face because they need to see straight ahead when they're chasing. So some interesting differences between predator and prey. Now, the other thing you're going to notice, are these eyes the same size? Yeah, they're okay. Let's put this back. But the other thing you're gonna notice with these guys, if I can remember my train of thought, which apparently I can't. I'll come back to that whenever I remember what I was saying. I don't even know what I was trying to tell you guys now. That's gonna make me sad. Okay, so no, that's actually not right. Let's go back there. So these guys are gonna have, they have very sharp jaws. That's a little scary looking. There we go. Their eyes are gonna be right on the side of the head. Oops. No. You know what it is? Self-centered. That's exactly what's happening. I'm gonna move this one instead. A little bit to the side. And, that should help it a little bit. Yes. There we go. Let's see. Okay, whoa. Lots of questions and stuff. So, oh boy. Are we gonna be coming back to Wolf the Game? Keep your eyes out. Do I watch Raiden animations? I actually don't, but I maybe should. I don't have a lot of time to keep up with YouTubers lately between running my own channel and, having to work on Ryan's Quest stuff, but I do want to get back into watching some YouTubers. And, Raiden Animations is someone I should probably check out. And, will I continue with Wolf Quest? Again, keep your eyes out. So, let's see. The head size, I tend to draw the heads on my animals a little big too, but a lot of that is stylistic. I don't know. It kind of just depends on what you're going for. So I'm drawing the antlers a little bit differently. And the antlers are going to be something that's important because they're what ends up letting the deer defend against... That does not look right, though. It still needs to be more upward. The antlers are a big part of how the deer can defend against predators like wolves. They're actually very dangerous. They could potentially seriously injure or kill a wolf or another predator if they hit the wrong spot with their antlers. So they do make these guys a no picnic for when it comes to hunting either. So let's see. Alrighty. Yeah, again, it can be a stylistic thing. There we go. There we are. And we'll come down like this. Alright. Here we go. So that should help. And the antlers are always hard to draw. The thing is, the thing with this is, too, it's probably going to be less common to see a buck in the series than it is a doe, because for the very reason that these guys have the antlers. So does still have the sharp hooves that can be a problem if a wolf gets kicked. But these guys, the bucks, have antlers, and that's not a good situation for a wolf to have to be dealing with big old antlers. So it's probably more likely they're gonna hunt the does anyway. So I don't know how much we'll see of the bucks in this anyway. But it's still important to learn to draw the antlers because we very well might see them. And this needs to be, there we go. There we go. Let's see. Sometimes we, when we animate, we have to be, we have to simplify things as well, which can be a difficult call because you want it to be super detailed, but at the same time you want to actually be able to animate it without crying. So it can be a hard call to make. When do you simplify and when do you go for having super detail? Where do you draw the line? So let's see. This eye is a little bit wonky. There we go. That's a little better. There we are. Let's see. Hello! We'll go ahead and draw down here. So this guy, they have fairly... Okay, that's one thing that we're seeing that didn't happen here, is the slope of the neck. It actually kind of comes in. And then on this side, it's more straight. It's kind of interesting to try and figure out how to draw these guys. Here we are. Yeah, it's kind of hard because not a lot of people know about Raiden's Quest yet. I'm trying my best to spread the word, but as I've said before, and I'll say it again, the absolute best thing you can do for Raiden's Quest is just to get word out there that we're on this project, we're doing this project, and to keep an eye on it, because I believe there are people out there who'd be interested in Raiden's Quest, but a lot of them don't know it exists. So, it's a kind of a touchy situation with that. The best thing you can do to help us, even if you can't support us financially, is to let us know, to spread the word and let other people know about us, basically. I can't even think today. This is not going to be a good for me recording later. So, alright, let's see. Oh my goodness. Do I draw mythical animals? I draw a lot of dragons. I haven't drawn so many, I don't draw a lot of equines, honestly. I don't really know why. I'm just not as familiar with them. There we go. We'll go ahead and draw that in. And that should help with the hoof. Again, feet are tricky. A flying seal with a unicorn horn off its nose that has rainbow hair. That's a very interesting concept, very unique. I would hang on to that. Unique creatures like that are always interesting. Why will my hand not do what I want it to do? There we go. Let's see. Yeah, it's, again, if you're spreading the word, you tell who you can, and sometimes they might be interested, sometimes they might not. So that's alright. We don't expect everyone to be interested. Hopefully word will start to spread on its own, too, as the channel grows. Unfortunately, we're still small enough so that I don't think YouTube does much advertising for us. Because we're still so small that we're not really benefiting them. And so business-wise, it wouldn't really be smart of them to advertise for us. Oh my gosh, why this elbow? No. That's not how elbows work. Oh, this is... I don't know what is wrong with this elbow right now. It probably needs to come in a little bit. Again, this is why we practice. This stuff like this does not happen. This is also kind of a weird angle to draw this dude at. I actually really don't... I haven't drawn centaurs much. I think... Have I ever drawn a centaur? I don't know if I've ever drawn a centaur. I didn't start drawing humans or humanoids until recently, so that's probably why, because faces are hard and sometimes make me cry. So that probably has to do a lot with it. Also, I don't really draw horses, so that's probably the other reason. Yeah. Alright, so we'll draw the butt muscle there. The back of the leg. The back of the leg is very well muscled because they have to be able to run, so you gotta get that, you gotta make that look solid. And now we're into awkward artist conversations with Jay about drawing deer butts. Oh gosh. Alright. So we'll put the tail there. This is gonna be a little bit of a derp deer. So this is basically, this guy's basically outlined. And at least these guys don't really have coloring differences between male and female. Here we go. Oh gosh, yeah, those update notifications are a real pain sometimes. I actually know what a wyvern is, so or however you pronounce them. I can't always pronounce their name, but I know what they are. So wyverns are similar creatures to dragons, if you guys don't know. They're similar to dragons, but they don't breathe fire. They have a set of wings and a set of legs. That didn't work. And they generally have a poison barb on their tail. So it's kind of interesting. I like draconic creatures specifically when it comes to mythical creatures. I always find them fascinating. Let's see. Let's expand this. And dang it, I missed the chin, but I'll go ahead and we'll just grab a grayish, it's gonna be like a grayish brown. Something like this. There we go. Oops, but I want to do it on a new layer. There we go. And we'll fill in this. And then we're gonna do, the eyes are gonna be pretty dark. That's a little bit soullessly dark. We'll give them some pupils, so they at least know, or we can at least see. I don't know, deer eyes are difficult to draw, apparently. Let's give them a nose, nice black nose, and then let's look at, these guys have some lighter areas too. So something like this, probably, let's see. There we go. Something like this. Here we go. And we'll fill this area in. And make sure that we get that colored. And then I'm gonna draw in, I'm gonna give him a kind of an area on his, maybe on his chest. Well, no, they don't really have that. On his chin, though, maybe. Yeah, that looks good. That looks good. There we go. There we go. Alright. Where... Okay, they have some in the ears as well. They have some white. There we go. That... Okay, good. That didn't color the whole thing. I was a little worried it was going to, because that would happen. There we go. And we'll make sure that gets filled in, and then we'll fix the little lines that show up here. And the eyes are creeping me out a little bit, so we'll probably address those shortly. Because it is staring into my soul right now, and I do not like that. Let's give him some different colored eyes. That'll be a little bit better. Now we can see how derpy his pupils are. Oops. Let's clean that up a little bit. There we go. That's a little better. There we go. And, oh, I really like How to Train Your Dragon, too. It's, oh, that was one of the first, well, not one of the first, that was probably the first 3D movie I ever really got into. It's just such a great movie. It's really well done. It's gorgeous. It has a great story. I love that movie. And the books are really good, too. I don't know how many people actually realize there's a book series, but there's a really good book series for that, that the movie was sort of based off. The movie actually deviated quite far from the book series, but they actually did well with the deviation. It's quite different, but DreamWorks pulled it off really well. So, but I would definitely recommend the books too, because they were really good. So we're going to draw in some of this white area around the eyes, because there's a little bit of a lighter area around the eyes here. And, there we go. That'll help some there. So this will be a good guide for coloring. The deer is a lot simpler, thankfully, when it comes to coloration. There's not so many complicated colors, which is nice. And then the legs are also white or light colored. Say more like that. Yes, that worked. And then the outside looks like it comes down a little bit further. There we are. And, oh yeah, don't forget to join in the Discord, you guys, if you are on there. If you guys use Discord, we have an official Discord now, and there's an announcement that should have, yeah, it has an updated link. That has the link to that on the, there's an announcement video a couple of videos back. So don't forget to join the Discord if you guys use that. Let's see, let's make sure we color that in. Is the stomach light? The stomach itself isn't really all that light, but the rump is. So we'll add a little white, a little bit of light coloring back here. There we go. And oops, there we are. Welcome back. So we're getting there, and then let's take, how are the antlers colored? The antlers are pretty light in color, honestly. So something maybe like this. Let's select the antlers. And from there, we will color them. They're going to be a little more gray than that. A little bit lighter than that. A little bit lighter than that. There we go. That's better. And then the hooves are going to be darker. I have not seen the ending to Slime Rancher. I saw they put out a bunch of updates recently, but I haven't gotten to play that game as much recently. Unfortunately, it didn't really do very well on the channel. So while I may come back to it at some point in the future, I don't know. It did not do very well recently on the channel, so I have put the series on hiatus. I do want to go back to playing it at some point, though. And hopefully there will be a wider audience for it then. So let's come this way. But I have seen they've been putting out updates for it. Let's make sure we get these filled in. It's always hard to have to drop a series on the channel because a lot of them are games that I really like, but then they don't always do well. But yeah, you never know, because Wolf originally did not do very well, and then suddenly it came surging back, and everybody wanted to see Wolf, and now it's doing really well. So, you never know. You never know when a series might come back. I just kind of keep an eye on what people are wanting. So if you want to see some more Slime Rancher, make sure you guys are telling me so that I know what you guys are looking for. Let's see. Okay, Jay, if you don't mind me asking, what inspired you to create your channel? I actually had a couple of inspirations, and I had a couple of YouTubers who were very inspirational to me through their channels, and that would be Siri and Ethos Lab. So a lot of you guys are familiar with Siri. I don't think as many of you guys are as familiar with Etho, but they're both, they were both people who had, for a long time I thought that the YouTube audience mostly existed for channels with some content concerns, because I saw a lot of YouTubers whose content I wasn't really comfortable with. I did not see as many channels that had that kept their content clean and family friendly, but Siri and Etho both keep their content clean, and that really showed me that there is in fact an audience for this sort of thing, and that people do want to see the kind of work that I would be able to produce, which is again keeping it clean and family friendly. It showed me there is an audience for that, and so I decided to give it a try, mostly because of I saw their work and how they'd been able to succeed in that, and how there is an audience for that sort of work. And so I decided to give it a try on my own. That does not look right. And lo and behold, it's actually been working out. It kind of surprised me. I didn't really expect that the channel would do so well, but as long as there's an audience for my work, I'm going to keep putting it out there. So hopefully Jay Plays will be around for a long time to come. Let's move this up, because deer are tall. So let's come over here. And don't lick your iPad screen. That's not sanitary. And probably not the best idea. Let's see. Have I ever played Zoo Tycoon 2? Boy howdy. Oh, boy howdy have I ever. That was my game. That was the first... That and Wolf Quest were the first games that I really seriously gamed. Zoo Tycoon 2 and Wolf Quest. Oh man, those were my games. And I really got into them. I was never very good at Zoo Tycoon 2, and I tried playing it again more recently. I still have the game. I might try to play it on the channel at some point at some time. But, I did have some issues with the game not running well, so I was a little concerned about that, and I haven't tried it on this new computer. So if I get it working, though, I actually do want to try playing it on the channel. Those games are... those were my games. Those were my games. Guys, don't lick your screens, please. But yeah, I really like the Zoo Tycoon games. So let's see. Let's make sure we draw in the nose as well. And let's look at the head shape here. There's not much of a noticeable stop. There we go. And the eye is going to be somewhere like this. Let's see. Alright. Yeah, it's, again, there's not many YouTubers who keep it child-friendly, but there is an audience for those that do. So it's a good thing. What's straight ahead and pose to pose? That's animation terms. So basically the difference between straight ahead and pose to pose is how you do your animation. So in straight ahead, you start, so like, let's say you have a wolf going... I'm gonna draw this for you guys. This is easier to draw to explain. So, let's say we have a wolf. and we want, let's draw our wolf. Here's our wolf. So let's say he's standing right here, and he is going to go from point A to point B. So if we're going to do straight ahead, we're going to draw him walking, and he's going to be walking like this, and we're going to draw him like this. He's doing his thing. This is not a walk cycle. What am I doing with my life? I'm trying to demonstrate that this is not how you do a walk cycle. Do not imitate this. This is an extremely bad example. This is like half walk, half run. So he's going to walk this way, and I'm correcting this because that's not how legs... so this is more like a normal walk cycle. And this would actually be forward. So you would have him going like this, and his other leg would be back here. So you would have, I'm going to turn the opacity down on these. So he'd come through walking like this, and you draw it like this. You draw it one frame at a time in order. And this would be straight ahead, because you go straight from one pose to another and you don't stop. So if you're doing it like this, and this is how you're drawing, you are animating in straight ahead, and then whatever he does here with his feet. he's going off screen now. This is very poorly drawn. I apologize that you guys have to see this. There we go. There we go. So if you're drawing like that, that's posed pose, or that's a straight ahead. If you draw the wolf right here, then you draw the wolf here, then you draw the frames like this, that's pose to pose. So what that means is you would sketch in the keyframes, and you go back and you fill in the in-betweens. That's how I animate, because I find it easy, well, depending on what I'm doing, I find it easier to draw the beginning and the end and then fill in the gaps. So that also works out especially well for us as a team, because I will draw the keyframes, and then I will actually send it off to Song, and she'll draw the in-betweens. And so that works really well, because then that takes a little bit of workload off me, and I can keep getting stuff ready. And it lets her do it, because since her style is different, she doesn't always animate the same way. But if she has poses to work from, she can animate the same way and work in the same style. So, that's the difference between a straight ahead and post pose. So, and thank you. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with how the deer are turning out. So, but yeah, that's the difference between those. So we use the pose to pose method, also known as keyframing, because keyframes are helpful for a team. The feet don't look right. The feet are weird. I don't have a good reference of the feet, so I will learn to draw them better later on. But yeah. The feet are something like this. I think I don't actually know how they look. I should have thought ahead in that regard. So let's see. Again, we have very long legs. Very long legs. Let's see. Oh dear. Is YouTube being a derp again? Because YouTube does that. YouTube is strange sometimes. I don't always understand the YouTube. It is very weird sometimes. There we go. Yeah, it's probably how many people are currently watching, not how many have seen it. I think the view count will update afterwards. Alright, let's see. That's not how toes work. There we go. That's a little bit better. And here's the tail. And then, oops, back here. Here's the back. So I think we'll go ahead and leave off a little bit derpy deer. Slightly derpy deer. But that's basically how I begin the process of trying to figure out how I'm going to animate a new animal. And, I'll work on these sketches more and refine them as I get closer to actually animating until eventually, they start looking more like what we've seen with Raiden's Quest. Just to give you an idea of how that works. Do I have a good picture? I should. Somewhere. Somewhere I have a good picture of this. Let's see. If I can actually find it, I will show you. I had something in mind. Oh yeah, okay. So this was the original style of Raiden's Quest. It looks a lot more like this. It's a little bit less stable. And it's very sketchy. This is the original, this is reference for Sakan. He's one of the characters you will meet in the first episode. So, that has progressed into the style that you see now, so it's just a matter of time and practice. It took, I want to say, about 6 months to get this refined, but now that I'm getting more and more used to working in the style of Raiden's Quest, I think it'll take less for something like this deer. So, it just is a matter of figuring things out. This is also when I tried not using brush pressure because I thought that would help, but it didn't. Yeah, I kind of am known for... That's basically a lot of my internal monologue, is that's not how anatomy works. That happens more often than you guys know. But yeah. So this is something that we're going to continue refining, and then I think I closed the pheasants. So we went from this to this, which is not too bad. The feet need work for sure. But as far as overall, this is pretty good. So I don't think... Well, we're going to close these. Close this one, and then we'll save this one. I don't know that we're going to actually get to the boar today. The boar is... Close that. The boar is something we'll have to work on another time. Maybe we'll work with this guy next time. Because the boar is going to be a little bit more interesting because of the shapes. There's some more complicated shapes going on here. So I think we'll go ahead and do the boar next time, maybe next week. Maybe we'll work with boars and bears or something like that. So anyway, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the stream here, but before I do, does anyone have any last questions? I will give you guys some time to put them out if you do. Bye, Slinky. Yeah, it does go fast. These streams go by very, very quickly. And so does animation, too. That's my biggest problem with it, is there's never enough hours in the day to get stuff done. Slow in and slow out. Oh, gosh. That's complicated. Okay. Oh man, lots of complicated questions. Okay. I'm trying to think if I have a good example of slow in and slow out. Basically, oh gosh, this is not a simple question. Basically, it goes back to, if we look at, let's say, oh, how do I show this simply? Let's say we have a wolf. I'll get my timeline up. Let's say we have a wolf, and he's gonna sit here, and, let's create a video timeline, zoom in on the timeline. Oh, I drew in the background, of course I did, because that's fine. Alright, create video timeline. So we have a wolf. And he's going to bite. He's gonna bite something in front of him. And, he's gonna end up like this. And then he's going to go back to his starting pose. So he's going to reach, don't do this to me, stop that. Alright. He's going to start in a certain pose. And he's going to end in a certain pose. And let's say, so he's going to start with his head down, he's going to bite, and then he's going to come back. So there's a couple approaches to doing this. You could, let's go to the blue frames, you could draw one frame right, don't do this. This is complicated. There we go. You could draw one frame in between if we come over here and let's onion skin. So yeah, we'll do that. So you could draw one frame right in the middle and have that be a frame. So let's make this, I'm going to make this 2 frames and turn off onion skins. And we'll go like this. Oops, nope, not like that. Do this. And then we'll put this here. I'm not naming my layers. Always name your layers, you guys. But for the sake of this, they're just going to be in orders. So then, if we play our animation, it's going to be like this. But instead of just having, one frame in the middle, oftentimes what can be better is to have 2, or like, let's say, this is dealing with frame width lengths too as well. Alright. So, but let's say instead you want to have 2 frames to make it even smoother. What you could do is you could have one frame that's just a little bit of movement, and he's starting to move, but he's not quite moving at the same speed. And then we'll duplicate this, because I'm lazy and I don't want to spend a huge amount of time. And then we have him go a little bit further than this, and we'll turn off, I'm going to go layer 7. We'll turn off this layer. So what then you'd have then, and then we'll go layer 8. And layer 9. So instead what you would have then is this, where you can see he moves just a little bit and then further, and then he moves a little bit. He, like, the first frame, he only moves a little. And you can see it's a little bit of a more fluid motion. Now, we also are increasing the frame rate. In fact, a more accurate representation of the comparison. I'm going to name some of these so that I know what I'm looking at. There we go. Alright, sorry, this is not as easy to explain as I thought it would be, so let's see. Instead of having one, so what we'd have is we would have one here, normal, 2 would be here, would be more like this. And so what you'd have with the normal ones, and then we'll come up here as well, turn on this. This would be a little bit, oops, not that one. This one would be a little bit further. And normal 4 would be a little bit further back. But what we'll do, let's come back here. So if we have, let's turn off our slow layer. So if we just play it like this with our normal ones, you see it's kind of almost a mechanical motion. It's very predictable. He moves at the same pace each time. It's a very almost robotic. But if we turn this off and we look at our slow ones instead, where our slow ones are a little bit different, you can see that has a much less mechanical, because he only moves a little bit at first. It's a little bit of a difference. It's very slight here because it's just a sketch. But what that is basically is it's a way of, they don't always move the same distance every time. They're not always going to move all at once. They're going to start at, they're going to kind of ease into the motion, and then they're going to kind of slow down out of it. Think of how when you're in a car, you can't just slam, if you slam the brake, you're not going to stop, you're going to skid a little bit. It's going to take a bit to stop no matter how hard you push that brake. That gives a more of a natural feel to the motion. And same thing with starting. If you have a car at a stoplight, you're going to press the gas, you're not going to speed up immediately, it's going to be an ease into it. So that's what slow in, slow out is. It helps kind of give a less robotic feel. Now, if you have a robot, you're probably going to have him moving the same. He might move a little bit less with slow in and slow out, but unless you have a robotic character, this is going to add a more natural feel to the motion. So, okay, so that's slow in and slow out for you. Do I play any instruments? I can sort of play the piano, slightly. Do I know how to light? As in, how to light an image? As in, like, when you say, how do I know how to light, you mean put a light source and then do shading according? Yeah, and live streams are every Wednesday from 12 to 2 Pacific. So, let's see. No problem, Big Claws. But yeah, the next live stream should be next week. I usually try and give you guys a heads up if I'm not going to be here. So, like last week, I wasn't able to be here, so we can have a stream. But yeah. Okay, so, lighting. That's a topic all of its own. Let me see if I have a file I can open quickly, just to show you an example. It's just going to be a good example. You know what? No, I'm going to use my, Hikaru. Where did you go? Where are you, Hikaru? Not there. There's Hikaru. Okay. So, this is Hikaru. And you can see this one, she has a lot of lighting. So, with this, the light source is probably coming for her. We probably have a sun about right here, coming down and lighting like this. So you can see it bounces off here. There's a little bit of shading, so the shading on her is a little weird. The light source is forward because you can see this cast a shadow this way. And it's kind of, this is a little bit of an interesting example. Simple story is you got to figure out where your light source is coming from and how it's going to affect. So, like, what areas are raised. So her skull is a little bit raised, and then it sinks back a little bit around her eyes, so she has some shading around her eye. Her ear goes in. Her tail, the fur down here, has shading. There's shading here because her leg is casting a shadow. Her scarf casts a shadow. And you got to figure out how that all is going to work. And thank you. You have to figure out how all that is going to work. Long version. Maybe I'll do a tutorial on this for you guys because there's not a simple answer. If I can just... Here, I'm going to close this one. I'm not going to save changes. The other thing I'll open is... This is not Raiden's quest. But... It's this one, right? I think it's this one. Yes. So this is another example. This is something I actually did, sort of for channel, not quite for channel art, but as its own, whoa, way too close. Sort of as its own thing. Can we just fit to the screen? Thank you. So the light source for these two is in between them. Let's draw it in again. Put in our sun, our happy sun. That will burn you if you stay out, and it always wear sunscreen, you guys. Sunburns are not fun. So you can see, again, her brow is curved, so there's a little shading underneath. There's shading underneath here. Her brow casts a shadow on her eye curves, and so down here there's shading. You can see there's some shading on her muzzle here, and on Katari's muzzle as well. And on the teeth you can see there's shading. So it's one of those things where you have to just look at what part, so like the ear is going to cast a shadow as it curves a little bit. And again, the light source is not two-dimensional, it's towards us a little bit. Down here, her ear curves back, so you're going to see shading on the backs of their ears. You're going to see shading underneath here because the light source can't quite illuminate it. You see a lot of shading underneath and under things. So I can do a more detailed tutorial on this if you guys really want to see that. But that's the gist of it, is knowing where your light source is and where the shadow's going to fall. So anyway, I think unless anybody else has last questions on that, or any last questions, I think we'll go ahead and wrap up here. So, and I will leave a little bit of time if anybody else has last questions. But otherwise, I will see you guys next week. Alright, so maybe I'll try and do a more detailed guide on shading next time I do a shaded piece, which will probably be pretty soon here, actually. For Hikaru, Hikaru is complicated. You guys will have to wait and see. There's not a simple answer to that. You guys will see. And, oh, that's cool, Golden. Let's see. I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap up here for today. So thank you guys so much for coming, and hopefully I will see you guys next time when we will be back here next Wednesday, starting at 12 Eastern, or 12 Pacific time, which is 3 Eastern time. So I will see you guys then.